Hi, kindergarten. Welcome to week 4. We're going to be looking at the end of our chapter 4 this week. So we're on lesson 4.3. We're going to be looking at cool people and hot places. So on day 1, okay, that's Monday, let's look at that chapter 4 question again. Why is Woodland Elementary School's playground always warmer during recess? Remember, that's what we're trying to understand this chapter. So on day 1, you've got a couple of pictures that you need to look at, and you need to decide, is this picture warmer on the left or is this picture warmer on the right? Okay, and what I mean is the surface area. Okay, so if you're looking at the surface area here, notice that it's really pale. And then if you're looking at the surface over here, notice that it's really dark. Okay, if these two pictures or places are getting the same amount of sunlight and is the same temperature, which one do you think is warmer? Which one do you think is cooler? Okay, I'll give you a hint on this one. Remember that darker surfaces are always going to be warmer than the paler surfaces. So for this one, this beach is going to be cooler and this beach is going to be warmer. You don't have this one in your packet, but we can look at this one too. Which one do you think is warmer? Which one do you think is cooler? Okay, again, remember those dark surfaces are going to be warmer. So the one on the left here is going to be warmer than the one on the right. Okay, and last week, if you went outside and you felt maybe a dark surface and a pale surface, maybe you felt the blacktop or the street, and then you felt the sidewalk, you noticed that the blacktop or the darker surface was a lot warmer than that paler surface, like the sidewalk. Okay, and if you didn't get to do that last week, you can do that this week too. You can go find two surfaces that look like this and see which one's warmer. Okay, kind of like here, and you see the blacktop here is really dark, and then the blacktop over here is really light. Okay, that pale color. So again, in this one, you're going to see a warmer and a cooler. Okay, I'm not going to give this one away because I want you to do them on your own on your packet page, but just think about which one's paler, which one's darker, and then which one's warmer or cooler. Okay, same with this surface. We've got that pale rock and the dark rock. Which one's warmer? Which one's cooler? Remember, they're getting the same amount of sunlight. Okay, these rocks, which one would you expect to pick up and it be pretty warm? Which one would you expect to be pretty cool? So we can explain the temperature of different surfaces like scientists, and we're going to use some words because this helps us to explain why. Okay, so you've got those words on your page as well. So we're looking at the sentence, the surface is blank when light shines on it because it is blank. So if we go back to this one and we are trying to explain why the dark surface is warmer, we could say this surface is warmer because the surface is dark. Or over here, we could say this surface is cooler because the surface is pale. So our key concept, what you should have learned from that and from what we did last week, is that dark surfaces get warmer than pale surfaces when light shines on them. So, day 2. On day 2, you're going to be comparing the Woodland data to the Carver data. Okay, so here's that data, and remember those different colors just mean the cold and warm temperatures. Okay, remember that purple is really cold, so it looks like both of them are really cold at night. And then in the morning, it looks like Woodland was getting warmer, and the same in the afternoon. Woodland was getting really hot in the afternoon, while Carver was just getting warm and hot. So each time we learn something new, we can communicate these new ideas. So you're going to be doing some writing, and you're going to be answering the question, why is Woodland's playground surface warmer than Carver's playground surface when the sunlight is shining on both of them? So you probably want to go back to that data, and you've got that on your paper, or you can use this one right here because it's got the colors. And you're going to want to look at why that is happening, okay? Even though the sun is shining the same. And then you're going to want to talk about why is Carver's playground surface cooler than Woodland's playground surface when the sunlight is shining on both of them. So we know that Woodland's surface is warmer and we know that Carver's is cooler. And we want to think about why. Why is that happening? So as weather scientists, we've been thinking about cause and effect. Right, so we want to think about what the cause is that's making Woodland's playground always warmer during recess. Okay, what's that cause? Well, on day one, you guys used words like this, and we can help explain using this same sentence. So, what happens to the temperature of different surfaces when light shines on them? Remember the pictures from day one, the surface is blank when light shines on it because it is blank. And we talked about dark and pale and cooler and warmer there. So now that we're trying to explain a little bit more, we can use some similar words to help explain why the principals at Woodland's playground, why it's warmer, and even though the sunlight's been shining on them for the same amount of time. So we would say the surface is blank when sunlight shines on it because it is blank. So that's how you're going to want to start answering those questions. Okay, you're going to want to talk about the surface, maybe whether it's dark or pale, and then you're going to want to use the words warmer or cooler depending on that dark or pale surface. So you should have written to the principals to explain what happened to the temperatures on the surface of the playgrounds. That's for day 2. And remember, we can use our bodies to show how temperature changes when a surface like the playground gets warmer or cooler. Okay, you guys have done this before. Remember, use your fingers for this one. So you've got cold, your fingers are still. Okay, and when it gets cool, you can start to wiggle your fingers a little bit. And then warm, a little bit quicker. And then hot, your fingers wiggle really fast. And that's how you can kind of remember those cold to hot temperatures. On to day 3. On day 3, you're going to be reading a book about people who live in hot places and how they stay cool. Okay, so what do you notice about that front cover? I noticed that the girl is wearing a bathing suit. She's outside. She's got some water spraying on her. It looks like that surface is not too dark, so it's not too hot probably. And it looks like, you know, she's keeping cool with that water and pale surface. So we know that some surfaces get warmer than other surfaces in sunlight. What do you predict that people in the book would do to keep surfaces cooler so that they can stay cool? What are some of your predictions? Just take a second before you read the book to make some of those predictions. So I'll go ahead and read the book to you today. Remember, this is for day 3 that you're reading, okay? So you can come back to this and listen. Does the weather ever feel too hot to you? In hot weather, the temperature is high. What do you do when the temperature is high? Do you stay cool in hot weather? Think about in the summertime what you do when it's really, really hot out, okay? Do you maybe use the sprinkler, or do you go to a local pool, or maybe you drink cold water, okay? Think about those things that you do. Some places have hot weather often. People in these places have ways to stay cool. This is a place where the weather gets hot. What do the people do to stay cool? And this is in Australia, okay? Look around. What do you think these people are doing to stay cool? Okay, and make sure you look at some of these pictures. These are places that get hot very often. So one thing that people do is they build underground homes. Sunlight can't reach underground. The houses are cooler underground with no sunlight. And then over here, okay, this is Turkey. This is another place that gets really hot. This is a place where the weather gets hot. What do people do to stay cool? Make your predictions before I turn the page. What do you think they do? Look at that picture. Where are they? What are they doing? The people who live here build into the sides of cliffs. The cliffs make shade. Sunlight does not shine on the buildings very much. The buildings are cooler in the shade. Okay, think about if you were to go outside, and if it is a hot day today, go outside and see if it is cooler in the shade or see if it's cooler in the sunlight. Okay, here's another place. This is Greece. Okay, this is a place where the weather gets hot. What do you think people do to stay cool here? Make your predictions, look at the pictures, look at the colors. Maybe that's a good way to make your predictions. People paint their houses white and other pale colors. They paint all the surfaces, the walls and the roofs too. In the sunlight, pale surfaces don't get as warm as dark surfaces do. Pale surfaces make the houses cooler. So if you notice, all the buildings are really pale and white. Okay, that's to make sure that they don't get too hot. This is Thailand. This is another place where the weather gets hot. What do the people do to stay cool here? Okay, make your predictions. Look around. What do you think is happening? People build houses with big roofs to make shade. The houses also have open spaces to let fresh air come in. Air can even come under the houses. The houses are cooler with shade and lots of fresh air. So look at those roofs. Those look a lot different than the roofs we have. And it even looks like that air is coming through so that they can stay cool. See underneath, some of that air can come through as well. So the houses aren't built right on the ground. That's really interesting. This is Libya. This is a place where the weather gets hot. What do people do to stay cool? Look at the picture. What are they doing? People build roofs over the sidewalks between the buildings. The roofs make shade. The sidewalks are cooler in the shade. Well, that's really interesting. That's definitely not something we do here, but I guess it doesn't get as hot as it does there. So they need to make sure they're staying really cool or they might get overheated. This is another place where the weather gets hot. What do the people do to stay cool? People wear clothing in pale colors. When sunlight shines on them, pale colors don't get as warm as dark colors do. Pale colors help keep people cool in the sunlight. If you've ever noticed that you go outside and you're wearing like a dark black shirt, you might be a lot warmer in the sun if you're wearing that dark shirt rather than if you were to have like a pale white shirt on. Maybe you can test that one day this week too. This is another place where the weather gets hot. What do people do to stay cool? And actually, this is here in America. This is North Carolina. It's a few hours from us. When it gets too hot, people set up cooling centers with sprayers. The sprayers send out tiny drops of cool water. The water helps cool people off. So they're not using the surfaces this time, they're using water, which helps to cool them down. All around the world, people have different ways to stay cool in hot weather. Some wear pale clothing, some find shade, some even live underground. What do you do to stay cool? So just think about on a hot summer day what you would do to stay cool, whether that's just go back inside and use your air conditioning, or maybe you wear a light color, or maybe you go to the pool or something like that. Just take a second to think, okay? And then on your paper for day 3, you've got a section where you're going to think about and write your new ideas that you've learned. Okay, so we figured out some new ideas about how one surface can get warmer than the other, and we also have learned about what scientists do. So we're finishing up chapter 4 once we get to day 4. And on day 4, the principals at Carver and Woodland Elementary School have some ideas. Okay, they want to show us some of their ideas for making changes to their playground to make them more comfortable at recess. So we're going to look at their ideas and decide which will be most helpful. And these are on your paper as well. So remember that the students of Carver playground were too cold during morning recess. And we're going to look at some ideas to make the playground warmer during morning recess. Okay, so look at their playground now, and we're going to look at what the changes are. Okay, so here's the first idea. And I just want you to think about, okay, here's going back, what's different? Okay, think about the changes that were made, and if you think that's going to help them feel warmer. Okay, now I'm thinking that the change was definitely the trees. Okay, but do you think those are going to help the kids feel warmer? Think about what trees create. I see it right here. Okay, they create shade. And is shade going to help us feel warmer? No, it's going to help us feel cooler. So I don't think that's the right solution here, but let's look at some new ideas. So here's the second idea, and think about the change that's been made and see if you think it's going to help them feel warmer, okay? What change was made to Carver, and is it going to help them feel warmer? And here's the third idea, okay? So let's think about what the changes are and then if it's going to help them feel warmer, okay? And you can go back if you missed it and see those changes, okay? So here's the three pictures. Which change will help Carver Elementary School kids feel warmer during recess? And I kind of already said those trees are really going to make you feel cooler because of the shade. But maybe one of these pictures is going to help us to change our ideas. Okay, and now let's think about the Woodland students. Remember, they were too hot during afternoon recess. Okay, so this is the other school. Let's look at some ideas to see how they could stay cooler during afternoon recess. So here's the first idea. Okay, again, with the addition of some trees. Now remember, they want to stay cooler, and we talked about how trees create shade. So this may help them stay cooler because they have somewhere to go that has that shade. So maybe that is a good idea. Let's look at the other ideas. Okay, here's the second idea. Is this going to help them feel cooler? And then here's that next idea. Is this going to help them feel cooler? Here's all three put together, and we already talked about how adding those trees probably would help them feel cooler because of the shade. But which of these changes is going to help them? Okay, so on day 4, you're looking at possible changes to the playground that could help the students feel warmer or cooler during recess. So again, you can use your bodies to show that temperature change, okay, from cold or hot. You can practice that change. But each time we learn something new, we need to make sure we're communicating those ideas, okay? So we want to write about those suggestions for changes for the playgrounds. We want to make sure we tell the principals which change we think is best, okay? So our question is, what is one change Carver's principal can make so that the playground is warmer during morning recess? And then the other one is asking about Woodland's principal, what change that they can make. Okay, so think about the changes that they can make. Remember to think about which surfaces keep you cooler and which surfaces keep you warmer. Okay, and even think about maybe how those trees come into play and the surfaces underneath them. And then we'll move on to day 5. So on day 5, you guys are going to be making a little mini book. This is going to help us to communicate what we've learned about warmer and cooler surfaces. So we're going to look at each page of the mini book and talk about how we will complete the sentences to share our ideas. And then you guys are going to write and draw in your mini book on your own pages. So here's page 1. It says, I am on the sand at the beach. The sand is warm. I am warm too. Where can I go to get warmer or cooler? So you want to circle where the person can go to get warmer or cooler, okay? And you want to here look at what kind of temperature do you think this is? Okay, so color the thermometer to show the person is warm. So remember, warm was that yellow color. So you'll want to color the thermometer warm for yellow here. Okay, and where could the person go to be in a warmer place? Where could they go to be in a cooler place? think about what the umbrella is causing underneath, and think about that rock and what color it is. We're going to move on. The sun is shining on the rock. The rock is blank because it is dark. I can go to the rock to get blank. So for here, you're going to write the answers. You can write them now or later. So go back and let's think about that rock, okay? Is it pale or is it dark? It's definitely dark, and it even says that, right? So I remember that darker things are a little bit warmer. So we'll write the rock is warmer because it is dark. I can go to the rock to get warmer. Page 5, there is shade under the umbrella. The shade is blank because the sunlight is not getting there. I can go to the shade to get what? So write your answers here. Remember, shade is going to cause you to get cooler. So we're going to fill in, these blanks with the word cooler. The shade is cooler because the sunlight is not getting there. I can go to the shade to get cooler. And last but not least, I want you to use those pages that you create on day 5, and I want you to either read that to someone, or you could grab a teddy bear or something like that and read that to them. I just want to make sure that you are reading the book and sharing that knowledge, because that's what scientists do. They communicate that knowledge once they know it. So that's the end of this week and the lesson. I hope you have a fun time learning about warmer and cooler surfaces, and make sure you get outside and make sure you feel some of those as well, okay? Bye, guys. I will see you next week with our next chapter.